you don't have the long, harsh winters. Now, if you're on the coast, you got to deal with hurricanes and garbage like that. But I would just think that being
welcome
someplace
to
warm,
the Lock and Load Show. We're back, Jack. We're going to do the Lock and Load Show again, and we're broadcasting across the interwebs on simulcast on gun channels and across the universe. Guns, freedom, and the truth until dawn. And we were talking about just bugging out before I get into all the Second Amendment stuff. Go ahead, finish with your thoughts.
I was just thinking that a place that's got longer summers or is just more warm or mild in general might be a better long-term bug out location than someplace too far north. I mean,
like Hawaii? Hawaii?
No, Hawaii is isolated, and because of that, you guys are going to starve like England. So nice knowing you.
Well, it'll be that it's an advantage and a disadvantage being isolated. If this mainland goes to hell, then you're going to wish you lived on Hawaii. But being isolated is definitely if the inter island barges stop coming, then that'll be a big problem. But I think a lot of the sheeple will get knocked off the first in the very beginning, and then the survival, there'll be more for everybody who's semi prepared. There'll be more resources available. But we'll see.
Know, if you did bug in a northern area, as long as you're prepared, if you can stay indoors for months at a time, if you've got enough supplies that you are able to obtain over the warm months, enough food that you're able to grow, if you've got access to, if you've got livestock on the property and you've got enough food for them stored for the winter to feed them, and it's not a whole lot of trouble to get out of the house and go slaughter something and process it for the winter, not where you're walking half a mile to the barn or something, and just
Is it that far from Dusty's house to his barn?
No, but I'm saying that if there was a blizzard going on and you ran out of food and you had to go get something, and kill it, you don't want to have to go through, wasting snow.
That was what impressed me about the story of a Crazy Horse in the book. I had mentioned before, it was that when the army was hunting his band, that he had to go out hunting with a bow and an arrow to feed his whole tribe. I mean, so he took just his bow, an arrow, and a horse. Because he took the horse because if he caught something, if he shot a deer with his bow and arrow, then he'd need the horse to bring the deer back. And if he didn't catch a deer, then he could eat the horse. And it was in the dead of winter, and it was just, Crazy Horse was an amazing person. I mean, I think it was the book was The Dream of Crazy Horse. But he was like a real honest to goodness bow and arrow hunter. But if you know anything about the native tribes, I mean, they used to throw like hoops into the air, and when they're practicing learning how to archery as kids, they would try to shoot the arrow through the hoops, and that as they were flying through the air, and that would be their practice. But that, it does sound scary having to go out and your whole family and tribe either lives or dies based on whether you get a deer or not. Especially after Squib's story about doing combat with the deer after he shot it twice.
Look, if my wife didn't want the head mounted on the wall, I would have just put the gun to the back of that skull and blown its brains out. Done. But no, she wanted a trophy.
Oh, now you're going to blame your wife for it.
Yeah, I'm right. I'm dragging her down with me. That's what marriage is about.
Oh. All right.
Now, see, here's one thing, though. Okay, in SHTF, there's no more DNR. So I don't have to worry about some ranger coming out there writing me a ticket or throwing me in jail because I'm hunting out of season or whatever.
If your hunting license expired or you didn't renew it, so I was going to throw in my little Glock reference. It may not look like much, but it's got it where it counts. Made some modifications myself, and this Glock made the Kessel run in 12 parsecs.
Excuse me, but isn't a parsec a unit of distance?
We were talking
not time?
about that. We were talking about that. Either George Lucas made an error and didn't know that when he wrote the screenplay, or let's see, I actually looked that up.
Riding too close to the black holes allowed him to time travel.
Right. It was how it was the course. It was how close he navigated to the black holes. Let's see. The first one says George Lucas made an error, or two, Han Solo lied about it because he was desperate for money and he just had to say something to book the passage. Number three is Han Solo took a shortcut. The expanding universe puts forth the most interesting and thorough explanation of the parsec problem. The Kessel Run was normally an 18-parsec route, a popular travel route for smuggling operations. The Kessel Run went around the Maw, a cluster of black holes. Han's claim to have made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs was therefore not just a boast about his ship's speed, but also a boast about his skills and daring as a pilot. Han shaved a third of the distance and precious time off the normal flying route by flying dangerously close to the black holes. This explanation is detailed in A.C. Crispin's Han Solo trilogy in At the Crossroads, The Spacer's Tale, The Bounty Hunter Boshek beats Han's record, although the feat isn't impressive since the hunter didn't have any cargo in tow. Okay, does that make sense to you, Squibb?
Sure.
All right. Now that we solved that problem, can we start talking about? Oh, I need to share this dog video because I couldn't find the cat video. Let me see if I can hit the screen share button and it works. All right. Here we go. The dog has the ball and wants to play. And he has a shark's fin on his back somehow.
That's what they do.
All right, it's still not as funny as the cat video, but okay, I have something you might be interested in right next to it. I'm gonna turn this one off. Was it?
Is that a kefir?
Yeah. And so, but the story was on the speaking of the apocalypse, India and Pakistan are having a little, I guess you call it a war. And it says, this article says that India using Israeli-made Spice 200 Kashmir missiles. And we had been talking about, I forgot whether it was on air or off air or after chat, or about Deltawings and F-16s and how they're different. So this is a Deltawing. It says I thought because you like it because he used to be in aircraft ordnance. The Indian Air Force Mirage is striking Pakistani targets in Kashmir, are using Israeli-made Spice 200 missiles, say military sources in Islamabad. The missile, weighing 1,000 kilograms, is armed with the pre-fed GPS coordinates, operating with infrared rays for high precision. Its range is 6 to 150 kilometers. The guidance kit developed by Israeli Rafael Company enables the missile to beam continuous images of the target until it is struck and correct its trajectory in mid-flight by means of folding winglets and fins. The Pakistani sources disclose that the Indian Air Force used Spice 200s to bomb the camp of Pakistani terrorist group Jaish-e-Mohammed, which I've never heard of, which carried out a suicide attack on the Indian military bus in Kashmir, killing 44 border guards. This was the deadliest terror attack, blah, 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 and that's all by fighting the war. So I thought you might be interested because I've never heard of this particular Spice 200, but there's a Deltawing Mirage.
I was more interested in the plane. Yeah, that's a Mirage. The first picture, I thought it was an Israeli kefir, which is
This is a.
No, that's a Mirage. Yeah, that's a Mirage.
Mirage. Yeah. It's a Mirage 3 CJ with 13 kills.
Israel made a copy of the Mirage, but a much better version called the Kafir, which means lion cub in Jewish, in case you're wondering. And the Marine Corps actually used them as aggressors for fighter training. And Venezuela, I think, bought a bunch of them.
When they still had money.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this particular one the pilot has 13 kills. The pilot that I was talking about when we had our other chat was the one with 20 kills, I think, or 17 or 20 kills or something like that. So I think that makes him like one of the top aces in the world. He's a retired Israeli Air Force general now. After he retired after he hit 59. And his last name was Epstein. I think it was Giora Epstein, and he flew a mission against the Iraqi nuclear reactor to bomb that. Although he flew it in an F-16, and they painted his 20 kills on the plane, but he got all of his kills in Mirage, either a Mirage like this or the Israeli version. You got most of them in a Mirage just like this. So this is the Deltawing, and what we had talked about was that Epstein I had watched him on one of the Wings military history channels, and he basically said with this particular aircraft, he could feel the energy on the wing that was on the wings build up through the stick and rudder system. But when you're flying an F-16, the pilot is just another input into a computer, and it wasn't at all like it's a different kind of flying. It's computers flying the plane, not the pilot. So, which was the problem we just had with Boeing 737 MAX airplane. The computer is basically trying to correct a stall that doesn't exist and crashing the airplanes into the ground, especially with pilots that don't understand exactly what the computer is doing, and the computer doesn't understand what the pilots are doing, and Boeing didn't explain it well enough. So they've got major liability problems with all those victims that died that's the word. In Ethiopia and Malaysia.
I gotta interject. I gotta go to bed. I gotta do something tomorrow. So
you have to go to bed. Okay.
It's 23:22. I gotta be up at like 7 in the morning to get the kids to school.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. God bless. Stay safe.
Catch you later.
See you, Squib.
Okay. Can we do some Second Amendment stuff really quick? No.
No.
No Second Amendment stuff. Well, I'm gonna take a chance to do it anyway. All right. The whole in the next day or two, Lindsey Graham is going to chair a Senate hearing on Republican-sponsored red flag gun laws, and so this whole thing today is supposed to be Man the Fuck Up Monday, and what I don't want is people to just complain about how bad the red flag gun laws are. I've got in the video description the phone numbers of all the Republican senators that are sitting on the committee, and you could call them up and tell them how dumb it is to, basically take people's guns in an ex parte hearing where they don't even know about the hearing. Some judge decides that they're no longer qualified to own a gun, and the police get a notification that so-and-so, such and such a person is no longer allowed to possess a firearm, and here's where they live, go get their guns. And then the person knows about it is when the police show up to take their guns. And so then they have to go hire a lawyer and go to court to try and get them back after. And so basically they have to prove that they're not crazy or whatever. And it's like you're guilty until you're proven innocent. So it just backwards and upside down. I'm going to try and let me put some links up. All right, get the screen share button again. This is one of the reasons I like the Firearm Policy Coalition. Oh, by the way, I got my new Florida Carry card in the mail like a day or two ago. I think Saturday.
You know why this is liable to pass
because of New Zealand, right?
No. There's two things about it. One, if the government's true objective is to disarm us at some point, if they're gradually, if they've really been gradually trying to disarm us over the generations, and this is just one more step towards doing that, okay, then that makes it plausible that it would pass just on the merit of it goes more towards their long-term objective, assuming that's real. Okay. The other thing is most of America doesn't give two craps about guns. So there's going to be more people that are going to be okay with this simply from the fact that they don't care either way. You're going to have the people that go, oh yeah, it's a great idea. It's a great idea because then we could stop crime, and it won't stop crime. And you're going to have the people that just go, I don't care. This isn't, I'm more concerned about them building the wall or job creation or something, right? There aren't enough people that see this as a bad thing that are willing to speak up. And even if all of them did, I still don't even know that it's enough numbers. There are people out there who have one gun in the house or 2 or 3 guns in the house, and they're strictly for home defense. They don't know the first thing about guns. I joke around all the time. There's somebody with a Glock in the nightstand who doesn't even have the right ammunition for it. But there are people like that. They're not worried about a red flag law because they have one gun. Not a lot of people know about it. And if somebody took them or they were ordered to sell them back to the government, they probably wouldn't care. So we've got a lot of numbers against us.
Well, that's why I'm saying everybody needs to man the fuck up and call the numbers and go on to fbc.org/act and you can propose. They have it. You can just press what state you're in, and this is a federal law. But you can press a button and send an email to all the congressmen. And like I said, on the video description, I have the phone numbers of the office of every congressman, every Republican senator that's going to be at this hearing. And you could call them up and tell them what you think about red flag gun laws. And I'm betting not a lot of people will, but it's really easy. All you got to do is, it doesn't even matter if you live in their state. You can call them up and tell them what a bad idea it is. Well, when we were talking earlier about how the hardest thing is, the first thing is to figure out when the shit has hit the fan. The first clue you have that the shit has hit the fan is you start losing your rights, and not just your Second Amendment rights, your First Amendment rights. And guess what's happening? With the whole thing in New Zealand, not only are they going after their guns, they want to shut down live streaming.
Well, that's New Zealand, though.
No, but you think it's going to stop in New Zealand? Live streaming. This is they're not blaming news. They're blaming Facebook. Instead of the government prohibiting, the government doesn't need to ban freedom of speech and make it hard for you to communicate. If they can just delegate that responsibility to Google, YouTube, and Facebook, and so real quickly you start to lose your First Amendment rights, your Second Amendment rights, your Third Amendment rights, your Fourth Amendment rights, your Fifth and your 14th Amendment rights, and probably a few others that I've forgotten. And when you start losing all these rights, and you can't communicate, and you can't talk to other people to find out what's going on, and your sources of information start to dry up and become smaller and smaller and smaller, and you're only watching just Fox News or just CNN or just MSLSD, then you will have not a clue what's actually happening out there. And they want to ban live streaming, and the excuse will be, well, look, they use this for a terrorist act. Now, if you go on Google and type, do a search on the Google search engine for the New Zealand shooting and add the word false flag, that's 2 words, but then you won't get any reports about that it was fake or anything. But if you do that on a different search engine, you will. And I have no idea what happened in New Zealand. I wasn't there. I didn't watch any of the videos. I heard some people talk about it secondhand. But I intentionally, I didn't want to watch the video if it was real or not. I don't know. But yeah, it's New Zealand. It's not America, but they're going to, I mean, in New Zealand, they passed a law that said if just having the video, like on your hard drive or on one of your social media platforms, 10 years in jail. So if you downloaded it onto your hard drive when it was still up, that's 10 years in jail in New Zealand. So, and we were talking earlier in the pre-chat about the whole thing about in the United States, some people are putting forward a universal background check for ammunition purchases, and you were talking about what you thought about that, Squid, why it wouldn't work.
Okay, so if they're trying to do background checks on ammunition purchases, they could say they're doing it to keep the bad guys from getting ammunition, but that's not going to stop bad guys from getting ammunition. What will end up happening is people just make larger purchases when they buy ammunition. It'll have the opposite effect. It's like when Obama was threatening to ban guns and everybody went out and panic bought everything. What they'll do is they'll say, you've got to fill out a 4473 when you buy ammunition. So you could go and buy a box of 20, or you could buy 2,000 rounds. Well, I don't want to fill out one of these things every time I do it, so I'm going to go and I'm going to buy a lot of ammunition at once. If you say, well, no, they'll make you do it for every box, the ammunition companies will go out of business because nobody's going to fill out a damn form for every box. So
you think they want to put the ammunition companies out of business?
No. But what I'm saying is when you go to fill out a 4473, if you go down to the gun store and you buy 6 guns, you fill out one 4473. So it would probably end up working the same way with ammunition. It's per purchase, not per box. You don't fill out a 4473 for each gun. So
I'm wondering what the deal is in California now that they have the if you go to a range, like like I had a video of me and my dad at Shooter's Paradise. I'm wondering they only allow you to shoot like their ammunition at Shooter's Paradise because of, I don't know, lead free or some other California weird requirement by OSHA. And so you can't bring your own ammunition. You go down and you buy their ammunition just for the range. You still have to go through all that. And I'm guessing, yeah, but I haven't been to California since they passed that law, and I'm not exactly thrilled about having to go back and deal with it. But it just doesn't make any sense to me. Obviously, if they ban things, the value goes up on the black market overnight.
Well, you got to think of it like this. You got guys like me who can reload. I've got enough stuff to reload for a while. So if they made it difficult to go to the store to buy ammunition or to buy it online, I could reload. So until they start prohibiting reload supplies, there'd be lots of people would probably jump into reloading, and all of a sudden the supplies would dry up because you'd have all these newbies and they're buying everything. But I mean, that's a potential thing. And I guess also people have been stockpiling ammo for a long time now, since Y2K, if you really think about it. Since Y2K, people have been stockpiling ammo. Or
at least Sandy Hook. I mean, what year was Sandy Hook?
I'd say Y2K is really when people really started to stockpile it. And yeah, after every sort of mass murder, and there was a threat of a gun ban, and when Obama got in office, and all this other garbage, right? But the whole thing is, I've talked about this before. In an SHTF situation, in the first 2 weeks, all the weak people are going to die. You literally go through a neighborhood and go house to house, and if you can stand the stench of the bodies, there's going to be plenty of supplies left over. And in that, you're going to find a ton of ammo because people all over have been saving up ammo for a long time. Not everybody knows what to do with it.
And not everybody has, and people that stockpile ammo necessarily don't stockpile food. and
right,
and
or they've got certain medical conditions that they can't survive without medical care for very long, or whatever it is. Yeah. So you're going to bust into a house, and you might. I mean, look, I've been in gun cabinets where the ammunition is 50 years old. It still works. I mean, there's stuff that's going to be out there. So unless you're training people on how to shoot that have never shot before, if you've got a decent stockpile of ammo, you could probably hold out for a long time, because as long as you store it properly, I mean, this stuff can last over 100 years. So I think that even if they tried to ban it or to make it difficult to get, there's so much of it out there right now that no matter what, it's just going to be available. I'm not saying it's a good. It'll be a finite supply. It just
it depends. The problem will be to where you live and how much violence there will be where you at your location, and as to how long your ammo will last, I guess.
Dude, I'd have to have 1 million people storm my house for me to run out of ammo.
We won't get into the whole pre-chat that we were talking about that. Because that was.
But I mean, really though, even if it wasn't SHTF, with as much as many panic buys as there have been for one reason or another in the past 20 years, there's so many guns and so much ammo and everything else out there that it's just it's gonna be they just can't get it all. So if they want to make things more difficult to get, or more difficult to transport, or more difficult to this or that and the other, then anybody who's smart is just going to leave the stuff in their house. I mean, your skills are going to get really bad because you're not going out there practicing, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a general. I understand people get depressed when they start when these bills get like when the Republicans in the Senate, you know, basically they're going to have these. I like to call it the Lindsey Graham death panel. It's like the Judiciary committee that he's in charge of in the Senate, and they're going to decide about this red flag gun law, whether to recommend it, and if it passes the Senate, it'll pass the House. So. Basically that means anybody can just go to hire a lawyer, go to a judge, and say, okay, this guy's crazy, and the guy who owns the gun, who's the subject, doesn't even know about it until the police show up.
Yeah, see, that's just it. America is a country where they have due process. You're innocent until proven guilty. When you go against that, you go against America. If they want to make it where they have to do an investigation, an intervention, or whatever, that I think would be more acceptable from the standpoint of how American law has been than just, you know, knocking on your door one day and going, turn them in. You know, I mean, it's just.
They don't say they give us your gun. They say, give us your guns now or else. I mean, you don't have an option. I mean, other than. You know, dying on the spot because you aren't going to be ready for.
If I really wanted to do harm, and they came and took my guns, as bad as they are about the 4473s, I bet you I could go down to the gun store that afternoon and buy a new gun. You know what I mean? As many people that are supposed to be prohibited that pass the background check, and if you fail your 4473, they don't come talk to you. They don't come find out why you were trying to buy a gun and you're a prohibited person. You notice that? If somebody fails,
they just don't prosecute those.
Right. They don't do that. So if you think about it, if they came to the house and they took all my guns and I said, I'm going to do something bad, so therefore I must have a gun to do it, and they just took all my guns, gosh golly, what do? You just go down to the local store and you can probably get one. You know? And so taking them away from that person isn't really going to stop them from having access.
So that would be known as the gun store loophole.
Yeah, I guess so. You know, and you know, if they make it where you have to have a universal background check to buy it from somebody, that's okay, whatever. But if you can pass a 4473 at a store, you'll pass a 4473 on the universe. I mean, so it doesn't really matter. And then how many people How many times have crimes been committed by somebody, these mass murders, where they steal the guns from a family member? It's not that hard.
So what they're going to do with what has happened already is that when they if somebody files a report that so and so is crazy, and he said he's going to steal this person said he's going to steal the guns from somebody else, this other, and specifically names the person who they're going to steal the guns from, then they come for the guy who didn't do anything wrong, who has the guns, who the crazy person said they were going to steal the guns from.
And if you think about it, they shouldn't stop there.
And that's happened. That's
but what I'm saying,
that happened.
If you've got a pressure cooker in your house, that's what the Boston bombers used, right? Pressure cooker in a backpack. So you better take all the pressure cookers and backpacks out of the house. And then that lady in Las Vegas who drove up on the sidewalk in front of the Paris and ran over all those people, I hope they don't have an Oldsmobile in their driveway, because that's going too, And I mean, the list can just go on and on and on about how many different things you can acquire or already have, or, that you can use to kill. You can use pretty much damn near anything. You could kill somebody with a screwdriver.
What was amazing to me was that the lady from Colorado who owns a place here was telling me she had to sell her house in Colorado because she had a problem with her neighbors, and one of her neighbors who was kind of crazy, and he kept coming onto her property, and she had some livestock, and he shot 2 of her cattle. And he would always come onto his property and shoot his guns on her property. And he tore down the fence, and I was saying, like, well, could you do anything about it? She's like, no, other than try and have some of her friends like beat him up or something. She wasn't willing to shoot him, and he was threatening her. He went into her house, and she had guns. She just wasn't prepared to. I mean, except unless her life was in imminent danger, she wasn't going to like defend her cattle. I don't know how livestock security works because I've never worked on a cow ranch, but I assume there's some way you can. I don't understand how that kind of thing could happen. And basically, the police said that they can't be bothered with people coming out and shooting fire. They're not going to come out and every time somebody complains about somebody shooting a gun on a ranch somewhere. And so this whole thing about banning guns and calling semi-automatic weapons assault weapons and making them all subject to the NFA, and to me it's a sign of some kind of imminent system collapse, because they wouldn't try and cancel out all of our rights all at once unless there was a serious problem with the system. And Squib, me, I'll be talking the banking system. That's what I think is going to fail, and the currencies. So, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. Like President Trump always says, we'll just have to see what happens and what fails. But it's alarm bells start going off when they actually start to either delegate the First Amendment, our First Amendment rights, censorship to Facebook and Google, and they start passing red flag gun laws. And so I wanted to give everybody a chance to man the fuck up and go on the phone numbers and call these senators and tell them how bad of an idea what they're thinking of doing is.
What if you don't have a Republican senator?
Yeah, like me.
Yeah,
well, but these are the thing is, if you call up, that's why all these Republican senators are the only ones that I put the phone numbers down to, because they might actually be convinced of what you're saying is true. They're not the Democrats, but they might pass this. They might vote to recommend this law be passed. In which case, here's your chance. If you want to do something besides just whine on the internet, and you can actually man the fuck up, pick up your phone and call. They'll take your call, and you can tell them what you think.
Now, our county executive is pro-gun. Our sheriff is pro-gun. Our senator is anti-gun. And the county next door, same thing. Sheriff and county executive are pro-gun. I don't know about the senators over there, but that would be something where I think you'd have some people butting heads. They might have a red flag law, but you might have the sheriff say, I'm not enforcing this bullshit. So I'm not saying I'm hoping for that, because I can hope all I want and then nothing I want happens, but it's still, it's a possibility. I mean, the really bad thing about this isn't just that it's an injustice and it's anti-American. It's how many people, once this stuff really starts gathering steam, how many people are going to end up dying over this. That incident in Maryland isn't going to be an isolated incident. Unless they kick your door in while you're gone and tear your house to pieces. And then, even then, if that starts becoming public knowledge, there's going to be a public outcry about, wait a minute, while I was at work, the police vandalized my house?
Well, why do you think they want to stop live streaming? They don't want people to talk about that.
That's New Zealand.
No, that's Facebook and Google. That's worldwide.
Oh, well.
Facebook said that Google said they took down 1.5 million videos in one day that had pieces of that video.
Okay, but all right, they're trying to be sensitive, whereas in the past they haven't been. But here's the thing, though. We do these live shows on YouTube and on gun channels all week long. And I'd say that despite the fact that there are different personalities in gun channels and sometimes we don't get along, nobody in gun channels is crazy. There's some of us that are real assholes, but none of us are crazy. Let's say a crazy person joined gun channels, and let's say they started coming on these live shows, and let's say one day they decided they were going to blow their brains out live on air. What would that do to gun channels and YouTube, especially gun channels? It's a risk. It's a risk anybody takes if they're doing social media and they're doing any live stuff. Just me saying that might, creep some people out, but it's something I've thought of. I understand we're all pro-gun guys, and we're not about committing crimes. We're not. And I've never heard anybody talk suicide. Well, I should say I heard one person talk suicide, but not like they were going to do it. Just that they were talking about some issues they had in the past, and they're dealing with it. So at least they're doing something about it. But the thing is, you never know. There's new people that jump into this all the time. And what if somebody was planning something and they wanted to have a big audience to do it, and they got on somebody's show that had lots and lots of views? I'm just saying, if nowadays, if you think it can happen. Who thought somebody would fly planes into a building, right? So it's a risk you take when you go on these shows. It's a risk you take when you run a platform that allows live stuff, because there's plenty of live stuff out there that is totally harmless. It's entertaining, it's educational, it's whatever. And then you're going to have the one nut job do something stupid. I'm just wondering if anybody's ever done that on Facebook or on YouTube yet, committed suicide.
If they did, I'm sure they took it down right away. I don't know. I don't even know what to say to that, except I don't see how you can hold somebody who's just set up a hangout responsible for what somebody who they don't know comes along and does. Just because the video, just because you're hosting a video, I'm not responsible for what somebody who just gets the video link and logs on does. I mean, at their house.
Right. That's what I mean. Not just that, but also, how are they holding YouTube liable for this? Now, I can understand if they want to take the stuff down because it's insensitive in nature, or they're trying not to encourage copycats. I don't, and plus they're a private business. They can do whatever they want. right?
Well,
But
they're kind of going to be treated as a public utility, whether they like it or not, because they are. And so it's like the Public Utilities Commission. That they're going to figure out a way to regulate, and they're kind of with an excuse to regulate it. If Google doesn't self-regulate, if Facebook doesn't self-regulate, they're going to be regulated by the government. So they're going to try to self-regulate. So, and in that regulation will come the censorship by teams of people that work at the company. That's what they do.
they're going to have to. Okay, to get the message out to the masses. Yeah, they could censor, they could regulate, they could shut people down, that sort of thing. But I mean, as far as
shadow ban is the thing that's happening a lot,
right? But it's for some of us though that have built relationships over the course of time doing this stuff. We've got each other's emails, we've got each other's phone numbers, we've got each other's address. We know how to get a hold of each other in other ways. But the thing is, if we're trying to get a hold of our audience, or we're trying to get the message out there to people who are doing research, then yeah, that's a big problem. But I mean, as far as the people that have made connections over this, over time, at least we have that to fall back on, I guess.
Right. Well, it won't be as bad as having to send up smoke signals.
Yeah, that's true.
But it'll get. I mean, it could. Basically, what the point I was trying to make is that when communication starts to get, when your sources get smaller and smaller, when your sources of information dry up, and you only have one source of information in the end, then that's a big warning bell that should be going off in your head that, okay, I only have one source of information, and like I can't find anything. I can't find news on the internet anymore. I mean, and that's how people get their news nowadays. It's not. Yeah. It's on the internet. I mean,
well, even then, you've got to be careful because they get stuff out there, and then you find out days or weeks or months later that some of it was inaccurate. So you got to keep up on it. You got to follow up, and it's bad enough you can't get somebody to do more than read past a caption on or a picture or read a headline. You can't get them to do their research and kind of take things a little bit further, but then to ask them to follow up after the fact, that's a lot to ask from some people.
Yeah. So I basically, this is like a man the fuck up show. So I don't know how to put it, but you just have to be prepared to be responsible for your own well-being, and just be aware, have some situational awareness, and when it comes to, if you're going to do any prepping at all, just don't have just guns and ammo. Know how to do and have some other skills, have some other preps besides just guns and ammo. It won't be enough. Just guns and ammo probably will not get you through shit hits the fan scenario. You're going to have other skills and other kind of categories in your preps, food, medical, water, whatever. And with all the warning bells going off with all the Senate hearings, anyway, here's a way that just the phone numbers if you want to call them, or if you want to go onto Firearms Policy Coalition's website and hit their take action buttons, or I think it's firearmspolicy.org/act, and they'll have like every bill in every state, and they'll have the federal on top, and then you can just click the button for what state you want to see what like Hawaii. If you click on Hawaii, it has the SCR 42 with their resolution to ask Congress to repeal the Second Amendment, which I did a show on, ranting and raving about how bad that idea that would be. And at what point? I mean, hey, Scoob, you took an oath to defend and protect the Constitution from enemies, foreign and domestic. how do you figure out who's the enemy? You know, in a situation like that. I mean,
I always thought that the domestic part of that was defending the country or defending the government against a revolt or some sort of, you know, I thought there was always a possibility that there would be some sort of a movement, like you'd have a bunch of violent hippies or something.
Violent hippies.
Yeah, violent. I know that doesn't make any sense, but like a bunch of people that wanted radical change. They wanted it now, and a lot of stuff that they would be impractical, irrational, just immoral, whatever, and that they would maybe start off protesting, but then eventually turn to violence, and they would have to call the military out to protect certain installations or to keep order. Of course, that never happened, but I mean, I kind of pictured a bunch of college kids starting off with protests and then eventually working their way up to storming the government buildings with guns, but that never happened. So that's what I always thought of about, all enemies, foreign and domestic. Domestic would just be a bunch of, I don't know, just a bunch of people revolting. Not for any reason, other than they wanted like free college or drugs or some shit, not realistic reasons. Like they wanted freedom. There's a difference between wanting change or wanting free stuff as opposed to wanting the right to make your own choices and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's I just thought I didn't think I would have to live in a time where some of these things I took for granted are being taken for granted. I mean, go ahead.
The things that have gone on over the past, say, 20 to 40 years that just seem to go away from our traditional American values and become more mainstream were all things that I thought would get shoved down our throats violently, not shoved down our throats passively, legally. But if you think about it, things have been becoming more acceptable that really go away from American traditions that have just been kind of forced down our throat either by laws or they just kept on and kept on and kept on until people just gave in and just said, okay, fine. I thought some of this stuff at different points in the past would have that would have been where you'd see people, storming Washington, D.C. trying to get this law or that law changed or passed or whatever. And it was never like that. Somebody said last week, they said, hey, when I'm saying that we need to start a civil war, I don't mean that we literally need to get our guns and start attacking government buildings and trying to split the country in two. What I mean is we all need to go down to Washington with our guns and march on the Capitol, not go in there and shoot them up, but just stand out there with our guns and let them see how many of us there are. And I'm thinking, dude, they'd call out the National Guard and kill all of you even if your guns were empty. First off, you couldn't get a million gun owners to agree to show up to the same place at the same time. And then what are you going to do? Bust them in?
How are you going to get gun owners to agree on anything?
You're just not. But even if they said, all right, here's the deal. Everybody's got to do, bring empty guns, but we just want them to see our gun. They wouldn't care. They'd have the military waiting and they'd mow them down. They'd say, well, we thought they were terrorists. I mean, so I think that if we want to keep our traditional American values, maybe we just need to have things handled legislatively, or we need to get the stuff done passively by simply just being persistent. that's the way things have changed. Maybe that's the way you keep some things the same. I don't know.
Well, it just seems that we're having a lot of problems that I didn't think we would have, and it used to be a real simple thing. I mean, when I remember the first time I bought a gun, it wasn't anything like it is nowadays. So, and you could just go down to a store and buy ammo in California. And I remember when you didn't even have to show ID. And the first time somebody asked me to show my ID, I mean, it wasn't because he thought I was underage or anything. It was because they passed a law that they have to write it down and everything. It's like, I was like, really? He's like, at first he was like upset that I would question him. And then he realized, yeah, this is really stupid. A law that they passed, you know, it's like, and now it's, you know, they have ammunition background checks in California, or you need a permit to buy ammo or something stupid.
You know, it's more of blaming the tool than the dirtbag behind the tool. It's like when I was at the post office and the guy wanted me to open up the box so we could repackage it in a different box because it would save me money. And I pulled out my Leatherman and cut the box open. And he goes, that's a weapon. And I look at him and I look at the Leatherman and I look back at him and I'm going, no, this is a tool. I'm the weapon. And his eyes bulge out of his head. At the end of the day, whether you got a gun or a sharp stick, like everybody likes to say, you're the weapon. That thing's just a tool. They want to regulate the tool thinking that they can keep us from having weapons, but all of us really are the weapons.
I know how to fight with a stick, and it doesn't have to be sharp.
You can fight with a stick. You can fight with your fists. You can fight with. There's all now. Don't get me wrong. You know, once again, I'm not inciting this Civil War thing. I can't stand when people talk about this. We're gonna start a civil war, and it's like, do you realize what it would take to do that? The country is not going to divide like it did back in the 1860s. Even then, there were people trapped on either side that didn't agree. And two states broke away during the war too. So, I mean, it was a mess. But
any kind of war is messy. I mean,
yeah, it's today, the way things are today and everything's so diluted, you couldn't even split the street down the middle. So a civil war today would be it'd be bad. It'd probably be kind of like the Bosnia thing. There wouldn't be no lines. There wouldn't be no battle lines drawn. It would just be a mess everywhere, all over the place. But you couldn't get enough people organized. Even if you had a group of, like you were saying earlier, 50 guys, right, somewhere in the United States that was doing, and it was gaining a lot of notoriety. Well, look what happened with the Branch Davidians and stuff like that. I mean, nobody came to their rescue. So even if somebody said, we're going to be the martyrs, we're going to be the ones to start this, they'd get shut down by the government pretty quick, and everybody's just going to label them as a bunch of crazies, and life's going to continue on.
That's what happened to John Brown. He got shut down by the government. They hung him.
Well, John Brown was a terrorist.
And Civil War and
Johnny did a really good job of playing him, but yeah, John Brown was a terrorist.
Okay. I was thinking of the movie of when somebody else played him with the Ronald Reagan and Errol Flynn. I know that it's a black and white one. You probably haven't seen that, but that was the original one. Well, I hate it when the name of a movie evades me because I'm pretty good with that kind of thing, but I'll figure it out probably right after the show is over.
All I know is after the Civil War is over, I hope we don't get carpetbaggers again.
Oh, you will.
Damn Yankee carpetbaggers.
Yes, there will the Reconstruction. That's when they passed the 14th Amendment. Anyway, all right, I'm not going back to the Civil War. I'm not going forward to the Civil War, and I'm not going back to the Civil War.
No, I don't expect this mythical second Civil War to happen, and I'm not encouraging it. I think some of the people that talk about it are just full of hot air.
Well, I think didn't I like 2 weeks ago? Didn't I declare myself the king of Hawaii or something? But
well, yeah, but that's because the way they're passing laws there, I guess anybody can do anything.
Yeah. Well, the king of Hawaii is the king of Hawaii. If I'm the king of Hawaii, how come I have to scrub my own pots and pans? That's all I want to know.
I don't know, but you make really good sweet rolls. So.
Oh yeah, I mean the
King Hawaiian sweet rolls.
Honolulu Bakery makes good dinner rolls. I really like their taro dinner rolls. They're like these purple bread dinner rolls. They're fucking awesome.
Oh, ours are the ones we buy are called King Hawaiian.
I never heard of that.
Really?
No.
Not available in Hawaii.
No, the common bakery around here is the Honolulu Bakery down at South Point in is it Pahala or no? It's in Na'ailu. It's like the very south bend of the road. When you're taking the Belt Road, it's where the road gets close to the south point of the island, which is the most southern point in the United States, the south point of the Big Island of Hawaii.
The most southern point in the United States.
South Point, yeah. Yeah, there's a green sand beach there. I mean, I did a video once of a black sand beach that I stopped at, and they also have green sand. So, anyway, okay. On that note, I'll check the externals. I just saw like Vanessa there, who I had put a link to her on the messaging on gun channels, but I guess she wasn't on gun channels tonight. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in and commenting. And Old Man came by and left a few comments, and he said we were buffering. So I noticed that on a few other. I watched, I think, Rain Dance Bushcrafter, I think it was, and he had some buffering issues on his show too. But some people got buffering issues. Some of the people, some on the same show, some people weren't having buffering issues. So I don't understand what's going on with that. If that's some other way they're kind of shadow banning people by restricting network access, I don't know. It's stuff on the internet. I just do a show once a week and try and say something intelligent. Sometimes I succeed and sometimes not, but we always usually have fun, especially in the pre-chats and after-chats. Oklahoma Prepper was here earlier in the pre-chat, but then he dropped out to deal with something that his dog was barking at after, and he was attacked by his cat for some reason before in the pre-chat. One of his cats, he has 4. So
you see, the dog barking is an early warning system in case there's 50 guys crawling around in the mud trying to attack his house.
Well, they also are good for terminators.
Yes.
They work on in detecting terminators. They don't stop the terminators. They'll bark at it, and then it's wait for somebody to give them a reward for barking or something. Or let's see. If there's anything else that I need to mention before I close this show out for this week? Take a look at the externals real quick. Predator drones, editor. PREDIDOR drones. All right. Let's see. So let me just ask you, we close out the show. What have you done anything this week to man the fuck up?
Me?
Yeah, you. Who else am I talking to around here?
Wow. And that could just be a question for, I don't know, anybody out there listening. Have I done anything to man the fuck up? I'm trying to think of if I've done anything the opposite of that. Let's see here.
Like buy some parachute flares or something like that.
Yeah.
You're gonna need them against this, or buy night vision or something. Got any new knives or toys in the prepping arena or in the firearms area?
No. No.
All right. Well, I got my man the fuck up thing was I bought some extra PMags. I got 2 40 rounders and which I somehow accidentally dropped into the ocean yesterday. I don't know how that happened, but it's probably when I was going there to dump my straws in the ocean that they fell in.
They're shaped like boomerangs. You tried to throw it and get it to come back, and instead it just ended up in the water.
Yeah, these bananas look like boomerangs, don't they?
Mm.
This is an AK PMag. If you've never seen them, this is a 30 rounder PMag for an AK. It's got 7.62 ammo in there. Soft points, so they're legal for hunting. Soft points, see the soft points. So these are the PMags, and I don't know. I just got them on. They had never seen. I mostly have some Bulgarian banana clips and some the metal ones, the regular 30 round metal ones. I don't know why people call those high capacity. They're just standard. I do have a 10 round mag that I put in my video. Usually when I go to the range, if I'm going to shoot video, I'll use the 10 round because it complies with the hunting regs, or because the gun laws in Hawaii make no sense. So I use the 10 round just in case somebody that also makes no sense comes along and accuses me of using something more than a 10 round magazine in a rifle, which we're allowed to do. But the gun laws are so silly out here. It's like we're allowed to do it, but you're also not allowed to do it. It makes no sense. Anyway, all right. So you didn't do anything to man the fuck up? So
I mean, I don't even know what you're calling. If you're just talking about buying crap.
No, I mean anything. Anything that would qualify for man the fuck up.
In the past week, I renewed our GOA memberships, and I bought.
That's a good one.
I bought one for somebody as a birthday present.
That's a good one. I like that one.
Renewed the wife's NRA membership for 3 years. Bought another NRA membership for somebody as a present.
That'll make Oliver North happy.
Yep. 2 weeks ago, maybe 2 or 3, maybe 3 weeks ago, I bought some reload supplies. I mean, most of the time I'm working, so there ain't been a whole lot of anything.
All right. All right. Well, I think I hear the chopper coming, so we're gonna head for the door and the after chat real quick. So give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, and it'll be the Lock and Load show again. All right. God bless. Stay safe.